What's up with Jordan Lake and Stranger Things 3?
Season 3. So the creators of the show, Matt and Ross Duffer brothers, are from Durham. And even though the show is set in Hawkins, Indiana, they make a lot of references to this area. And they talk about the Eno River, they talk about Jordan Lake, they talk about roads in Durham, and some people have said that some of the buildings in the show are actually replicas of buildings in Durham. Like one person has said that the secret government facility is actually the Durham police headquarters or whatever, so they copy some of the buildings. But I think one of the most fascinating things is Jordan Lake. They actually make reference to Jordan Lake. The lake in the show is called, well, I think in season 1 it's called Lake Jordan, and then in season 3 they call it Jordan Lake. But I'm sitting there watching, I think, episode 4 or 5 of season 3, and they're like, who's buying up a bunch of land around Jordan Lake? And I was like, oh, this is intriguing to me, because that's what my world is who's buying up land around Jordan Lake. And so our lake was built in the 80s, but prior to that, there's a lot of suspicious things that happened around Jordan Lake, and there's some government officials that knew that what price the government was going to pay for the acreage, and some local attorneys actually made some purchases and got the land real cheap and then flipped it for more money. And then also, a key thing would be to own land that adjoined Jordan Lake. And in Stranger Things, there's a mayor that is helping the Russians, out of all people, to make all these farm acquisitions. So they're trying to secure all this land. And the other interesting thing about Stranger Things is, I'm not sure if they ever mention it, but they say, the lake is so important for power, so I assume it's like a hydroelectric dam. Our Jordan Lake isn't hydroelectric, but it is the reserve reservoir for the Harris Reservoir, which we all know the Harris Reservoir is the Sharon Harris nuclear plant. So, and that is a huge source of power for us. So it's just interesting that in Stranger Things, Jordan Lake is involved in the power source. And if you know anything about the show, there's a ton of power necessary for this beam that is shot at another dimension that opens up a hole, a rip, a tear between the two dimensions. I'm not going to go into the whole.
Don't spoil it.
Don't spoil it. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. Yep. But another thing that is so interesting about Chatham County and season 3 is that there's this secret government facility. So in season 1, it's the U.S. government trying to tear a hole and getting into this other dimension. But unique to Chatham County, we also have a secret facility that is right next to Jordan Lake. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but it's called Big Hole. And people talk about the Big Hole government complex or whatever. And it's AT&T and all sorts of different rumors, and it was a secret facility. I don't believe it's currently used for the same thing, but back during the Cold War, which again was Russians, right? We allegedly, Big Hole was our communication centers in the event that there was a nuclear war and DC was wiped out. We had to have an emergency communication center, and Big Hole right here off of Mount Gilead, right next to Jordan Lake, was that communication center. I don't think it's still one of the top, from what I've heard, it's the backup to the backup to the backup to the backup to the backup now. But it might not even be a government facility, but that's what it was. And so I think the creators of the Stranger Things shows have an interesting dynamic that, they name it Jordan Lake, and it's a power source, a power center, and also there's this secret government facility. In season 3, the U.S. has abandoned their secret facility, and the Russians build a secret facility underneath a mall, which is hysterical. It's quintessential 80s. It's like the best 80s show ever. So many, like if you're of my age, they drop so many fun 80s thing, and to see an 80s mall and 80s clothes is hysterical or whatever. But Big Hole is right here in Chatham County, our secret government facility, and Jordan Lake is right here in Chatham County. So, and the creators of the show are from Durham, so I feel as though this area has a huge connection with Stranger Things.